The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
The summer of 2015 at 10.
Welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show as we continue the summer of 2015 at 10. A look back at the movies from that summer and the pop culture that surrounded them. Joining me, as always, from Puck News and The Outside Scoop, which this week is Haagen Dogs, a special ice cream for your canine when you bring your pup into the shop. Scott Mendelson.
When you bring your pup into the what?
The shop, the Outside Scoop shop.
Shop. Oh,
What else did you hear?
is it the Needful Things shop?
Yeah, don't go there. Don't shop. But bring your dog.
Yes. Ooh, scary.
Scary?
No, I'm doing well.
No one asked.
That's two fingers up for the audio listeners at home. All right. And from We Live Entertainment, out now with Aaron and Abe and two Black Guys Talk Godzilla, hoping to bring us just a little bit of chaos today, as he's already has, Aaron Neuwirth.
Hey, how we doing?
Not too bad. This episode will discuss the films releasing June 26th to 28th of 2015. Reminder, listeners, it's your turn to pick the summer we talk about next year. So gets to tweeting, blue skying, Facebooking, Instagramming, or emailing, or YouTube commenting, and let us know what summer should we do between 1980 to 2009, and not one we've done because we're not doing it again. So it's on you. You pick it and let us know. All right. With that, without further ado, let's head on to the news.
Beep, 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 beep.
It's been a long day without news, my friend. I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
History's often filled with emotion, and that's more true in South Carolina than a lot of other places. On matters of race, South Carolina has a tough history. That brings me to the subject of the Confederate flag that flies on the State House grounds. We are here in a moment of unity in our state, without ill will, to say it's time to move the flag from the Capitol grounds.
All right. June 22nd, JMA Internal Medical Journal announces obese Americans now outnumber those just overweight. Congrats, obesity.
Wally's coming closer.
God willing at this point.
Take that, fatties. The obese run this town.
Alas, my BMI is only slightly above ideal.
There you go. But doctors always be like, don't follow the BMI. That's too hard. That's what they tell you. But it's there for a reason. All right. That same day, South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley calls for the removal of the Confederate flag from State House grounds in wake of killings in a Charleston church, which we talked about last week.
Good.
That came with no controversy. Everybody's like, yeah, about time, right?
Seems like it would make sense.
You know, the flag that represents the traitors of this country. Why do we have it still up here hundreds of years later, 100 years later, over 100 years later?
The South is going to rise any minute now.
Yes.
Any minute now.
Do you think 2025 Nikki Haley would have done that?
No. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn you, air conditioning.
Yeah.
Well, but if not for the invention of air conditioning, the South would have remained a less demographically pleasant place to live and work. But because air conditioning evened the playing field a bit. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. On June 24th at the Glastonbury Festival in Pilton, England, performers were Kanye West and The Who. Those are the headliners. The other performers included Lionel Richie, Motorhead, Burt Bacharach, the Libertines, and Pharrell Williams.
The Libertines, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And Pharrell, wow, that must have been a happy concert.
Yeah. On the next day, the June 25th, the NBA draft, Kentucky center Karl Anthony Towns was the first pick by the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Fuego.
He was then, he was on the team just until this past season. He is now on the New York Knicks. Boo. And on June 25th, the Affordable Care Act, or as Obamacare, as a certain group of people want to call it, and don't know the difference between the two because there is no difference.
Get your government hands off my Medicare.
Yeah. So the Affordable Care Act subsidies preserved by U.S. Supreme Court ruling in a King versus Burwell 6-3.
But it gutted just enough of it to make it less effective.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. June 26th, Greek credit crisis. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras calls for a Greek referendum on new bailout terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on that same day, a gunman opened fire at a beach resort in Sousse, Tunisia, killing 38, and ISIS claimed responsibility.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, as I once wrote in high school, an high school editorial that I clearly would never write today, at least international terrorists are occasionally willing to take responsibility for their actions. So, yay.
Or they just wanted to claim it. If the gunman died, and whatever, that was us.
Whatever the case, Dylan O'Brien's going to train hard with Michael Keaton to get back at them, so he'll be fine.
Gotcha. This June 26th is a big day. We got a lot of stuff. So, NHL draft, Erie Otters, center Connor McDavid was the number 1 pick by the Edmonton Oilers.
Okay.
As he was picked, Jesus, that on that same day, a Saudi suicide bomber kills 27 at the Shia Imam Al Sadiq Mosque in Kuwait, and 227 were injured.
Well, that's terrific.
Bad.
ISIS didn't claim that one. And then on that same day, United States President Barack Obama sings Amazing Grace as part of his eulogy for Reverend Clementa Pinckney and 8 church members killed during a Bible study that Charleston, South Carolina won, which got Nikki Haley to remove the flag, as we learned earlier. And the last thing on June 26th.
I assume Tucker Carlson had a show that night explaining why such a thing was playing the race card.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Him and Hannity. U.S. Supreme Court rules 5-4. Same-sex marriage is a legal right across all U.S. states.
Well, that ended happily.
Yeah.
Love wins.
Good thing. Love wins. Take that.
In retrospect, that seems like the peak of America. And it's been going downhill ever since.
Right? Yeah. I mean, and we will probably within this next 4 years see their attempt at trying to get rid of it. I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
But
it is harming so many people.
Oh yeah,
Can't walk 2 steps about somebody's gay marriage ruining a day.
The sanctity of marriage. Right, yeah. Okay. Whatever. So, on June 28th, David Sweat shot and captured near Canadian border. He's the second prisoner to escape maximum security Clinton Correctional Facility. Yeah, he escaped on June 6th, and they got him on June 28th.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, another update on the Greek credit crisis. The Greek government says banks closed for a week and ATM withdrawals restricted after European Central Bank refused to supply emergency funds.
Well, okay.
And
also, the emergency yogurt went bad.
It went bad. And got for Aaron here that last note here: U.S. Senior Open Men's Golf in Del Pasco, CC. Jeff Maggart shoots final round 65, 500 par to win by 2 strokes from defending champion Colin Montgomery of Scotland.
Mayor.
Scotland. All right. Our deaths this week. Buddy Landell, known as pro wrestler Nature Boy. Gabrielle Woolman, a German writer. Joseph de Pasquale, a violinist in the Boston Symphony and Philadelphia Orchestra. Actor Dick Van Patten. Yeah.
Guy.
Yeah. Actor Patrick McNee, who you know from the Avengers.
Yeah.
Chris Squire, the bassist of Yes. Richard Matt, an American murderer who escaped prison and was shot and killed on the run. So,
one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. Dennis Vigay, the cellist of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Jack Carter, a comedian and actor. And Oscar-winning composer James Horner.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Remember the Horner one was like a whoa.
I remember I heard that like right before I was getting in the car to go home from a screening, and I just listened to a bunch of James, like a lot of like Rocketeer and Titanic, obviously.
It was a shocker. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, I was like, you don't really think about these guys as being old necessarily, except for like John Williams. So it's like, oh, one died. That's sad. Listen to music.
Guy was a soundtrack of our lives for
a lot of 90s hits for sure, among others. Aliens.
Yeah. Okay, so we will move on. Our first 2 films this week both premiered at the 2014 Toronto International Film Festival. The first one opened in 85 theaters this week. It's A Little Chaos.
Only a little?
Just a little.
The gardens of Versailles shall be the heart of our kingdom. Heaven shall be here.
Your Majesty.
You're inviting new ideas into the gardens.
This abundance of chaos is your Eden?
My search for it?
In a world of tradition.
Why me?
She changed everything.
She encouraged me to see beauty. Only some of us have that gift.
Academy Award-winning Kate Winslet stars in Alan Rickman's A Little Chaos, only in cinemas.
Directed by Alan Rickman, written by Jeremy Brock and Alan Rickman from a story by Allison Deegan, starring Kate Winslet, Alan Rickman, Matthias Schoenaerts. Look at my arts. I'm showing them. Stanley Tucci, Helen McCrory, Stephen Waddington, Jennifer L., and Rupert Penry Jones. Famed builder Lenotre is tasked with building an ethereal palace. Jesus. For King Louis the 14th that transcends beauty. Lenotre hires Sabine Debarra to design and construct the outdoor ballroom and is soon captivated by her beauty. It's another film this summer that boldly tells Far From the Madding crowd to get off its damn lawn. This is it's one of 2 Alan Rickman directed films. The last was 1997's The Winter's Guest. Rickman passes away the following year in 2016.
This is his 3rd to last screen appearance and his 2nd to last on-screen appearance.
Yeah. So, Scott, take us away with A Little Chaos.
Well, I as much as I like the idea of having these semi-regular period piece melodramatic romances, I think Far From the Maddening Crowd set the bar too high. All due respect, because I thought that one was excellent, and the other ones that we have watched have just not measured up. They have been far from the Maddening Crowd, as one might say. This is fine. It's obviously well acted because you have a murderer's row of talent. And there's nothing offensive or annoying about it. It's not particularly well paced. I think Alan Rickman, this is only his 2nd film. He went something like 15 years between directing and
Rusty, right?
Well, he's a director that gets good performances from actors, which makes sense. He is an actor, but relatively speaking, he has not yet mastered the structure and plotting and pacing and what have you.
He should have spent some time directing some episodes of Big Bang to get the sparks rolling.
Clearly. But
what if he did?
Wait, did he?
What if he did? Directed by Alan Rickman. This episode of Big Bang Theory. All right. He's not even in it. He's just like, I just wanted to do an episode.
I was the first Bazinga episode.
I just love that Jared Padalecki. Sorry, Johnny Galecki. They rhyme.
But, in a vacuum, this is a perfectly enjoyable acting treat / character piece. It doesn't really do one thing that did stick out for me is, like, I would argue almost everybody in it is relatively nice. At least like there aren't a ton of characters that turn out to be assholes or characters that go beyond the
dude wife's kind of an asshole the whole movie.
I mean that's sort of the one whatever. But like, for example, I was surprised that Alan Rickman's royal character doesn't turn heel at some point. Because he's nice, and then it's revealed that he's like nicer, and then he keeps being nice. And that threw me for a loop in a good way. And again, it's also a reminder that Alan Rickman gets to play lots of different kind of characters when he's not, quote unquote, just playing the heavy in a big tentpole picture. But yeah, it's not nearly as good as God help me, I forgot the name of the obviously Far From the Maddening Crowd.
Madame Bovary.
Thank you, Madame Bovary. I think it's about on par with that. I think this is a lighter, slighter affair, but I enjoyed it more, maybe just because of the cast. And again, in a vacuum, it's fine. It's not this film's fault that we got one of these in May that just kind of kicked ass. But watching these one after another, the formula starts to show. And this is one of those it is fine without being exceptional.
Gotcha. Aaron?
Has Rickman really played that many heavies? Like, if we take the Snape out of it, because that's not like a heavy necessarily, but like beyond Prince, whatever, Robin Hood and Die Hard, does he have other like heavy characters that I'm not
I was thinking about that halfway through my sentence, but I couldn't stop myself. You're right.
I mean,
he's actually done more truly madly deeplies than stuff like
adorable curmudgeon kind of characters.
But his iconic characters are those.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not trying to take that away. I'm not trying to say like that's a horrible thing you said, Scott. It's just more I'm trying to think. Does he really?
No, you're right.
What do you really categorize him as?
I briefly mistook him for Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads he's at a true balancing point. He has a lot of nice characters too this way, but he's like obviously he has other things. This movie. So here's the deal when it comes to like these costume period dramas, specifically ones that take place in like opulent places, like Far From the Maddening Crowd. That's more of like it's farm people. Like it's different. When it comes to these more like upper class, how do you deal? Big costumes, spoiled people, nice people blend with spoiled people. I tend to think these films are a bit smug about themselves. Like I feel like they think they're automatically going to be received a certain way, therefore they don't need to try as hard when it comes to what they're doing to kind of stand out from each other. Obviously, there are very good examples of these kinds of movies. I'm not trying to take that away from the ones that I think really work. However, this film and Madame Bovary do kind of feel like they're taking for granted the fact that they're set in a certain place and deal with certain themes where it seems like they don't really feel like they have to do the work to make them work better than they actually do. So as a result, yeah, everything Scott says is accurate. I like it less than him. I think the movie's poorly paced. I don't think the story's particularly innovative. The costumes are good because, yeah, of course they are. But you don't make these movies that have bad costumes. Have you ever seen a badly costumed period drama? Like, unless you're a high school production doing what you can, you're probably going to get the budget to do the bare minimum for that thing. So it's not like I don't want to give credit to the costume designers, but at the same time, it's not a surprise. They shot in the areas where these places still exist, so good on them. Actors are acting good because, yeah, they're good actors in that movie where you require good acting. Great job. There's just not a lot here, is my main point. There's not a lot to separate this out to make it like a young Victoria or a Duchess or, any number of the ones that actually won big awards. So it's just like, yeah, there's a reason why I never saw this because it didn't land on my radar back then. A movie like this could have, and it didn't. And I know why. It's because, it's not that special. It's nice seeing Alan Rickman. Honestly, it is. It's been a while since I've just seen him in a performance I hadn't seen before. So it's like that's refreshing because who doesn't like Alan Rickman? And yes, he does play a nice person who becomes nicer, and it's like, yeah, that's nice to see. He has that voice, so it's like great. I'm glad to hear him, see him, whatever. Winslet's impeccable, so it's like, yeah, that's no problem. It's not her fault, but yeah, the movie's just kind of nothing. Like I watched it, went one ear, out one other, and I was like, there's not a lot of chaos going on here. It's just kind of happened.
Well, it's just a little.
Yeah, accurate.
So yeah, this is a BBC Films production, and that's no surprise. Like what you see with it, and yeah, as I said, yeah, costumes look great, sets look great, everybody acts great. Kate Winslet's always enjoyable to watch, but I mean, this one peaks at like mediocrity, and I don't know what there is to add to it. It's always these always have these like forbidden romance things that go on in these, like always with, and then there's the they're having sex in period times, and by period times I mean the time at which it took place. Not
no one was thinking about this until you
okay.
said that.
All right, okay. I will say I feel bad for this movie watching it because I just watched Andrei Rublev from Andrei Tarkovsky in close proximity to it, and both are historical fictions that revolve around someone being tasked to create this great work for in Tarkovsky it's a duke, and here it's a king, to create this. She's creating this garden. He was supposed to create a mural in a church, and like that one is so profound. It's incredible, and it's about the work and stuff like that. And this one kind of is, and it's all about this like, oh well, we know they're gonna hook up at least at some point, right? Like, and kind of drags you. Stanley Tucci comes in here and chews every fucking piece of
the Tucci
thing. Like it's just like, wow, okay, this is a whole nother element, and the movie has nothing else with that at all. With it, which is good. There was a moment I did like where, it was like something that did like a bomb went off or explosion or something, and the wind from it hit, and the way Winslet played that scene and just stood there, I really, really liked that moment. That was really good. I thought that was really cool to see. That'd be great in some like 2015 films montage just to have that. Like, oh, what was that from? It's like, yeah, you don't need to see the rest of it. But yeah, it's neat to see a film. I haven't seen Rickman's other directed film, but kind of neat to see that. But this plays like something that, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, there are. I don't know. This could have played very well as a TV movie or a mini series more than theatrical experience with it. But yeah, it's like this is one of those dime a dozen period dramas. At least I thought so.
I do like that Mathis show in Arts Night. So like the fact that he's in another one of these this summer is like, oh, that's fun, I guess. But I mean, yeah, it's not like and he has big long hair in this movie as opposed to the other one. It's like, all right, well, he's got he's showing off that range, I suppose.
Yeah.
But no, otherwise, it's nothing. It's a forgettable movie.
No, but do you think our other piece of historical fiction will fare better when we go to Escobar: Paradise Lost, which is playing in 105 theaters?
Maria is like a daughter to me, and we're very happy if she's found a good match.
Most of the money he makes goes to the poor.
So he's like a Robin Hood?
He is Robin Hood.
You're as guilty of killing those people as I am. You're one of those those friends I have to leave behind.
I will kill you!
Directed by Andrea Di Stefano. Written by Andrea Di Stefano from an adaptation by Di Stefano and Francesca Marciano. Starring Benicio del Toro, Josh Hutcherson, Claudia Trasak, Brady Corbett, but he now goes by Corbet. Carlos Bardem, Ana Girardo, Aaron Zebed, Frank Spano, Laura Londoño, and Mickey Moreno. In Colombia, a young surfer meets the woman of his dreams, and then meets her uncle. And then meets her uncle, Pablo Escobar.
That's bad.
Yeah, I will say.
Pablo Escobar takes a liking to him.
That's good.
But then Pablo Escobar betrays him and tries to have him killed.
Well, yeah, tries to make him kill and then have him. So there's something that happened, a company that wasn't around when in any of these and won't be around for much longer. But the Weinstein Company, they left Disney. They had this like real rush breakup with them, created their own company.
Why?
Why'd they break up with Disney?
Yes.
That's actually kind of complicated.
I know.
I think you meant why the other thing.
Yeah. It's okay for him.
But yeah, there's a surprise coming around in a movie about it down the road. Yeah, so the Weinstein Company, interesting that, you know,
Wait,
there's
is that the one that stars Zoe Kazan as like the hottest Lois Lane ever?
Maybe. And Far From the Madding Crowds, Carey Mulligan.
Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah. So yeah, Weinstein Company, because Weinstein Company it was weird because they could do Dimension and so could Miramax at the same time, but Miramax was with. It's really
I don't
complicated.
pretend to understand it.
All I remember with the Weinstein Company, my own personal thing, is they were a client of ours when I was at Testronic, and they didn't like to pay the bills, but they sure were pushy about getting work done that they weren't paying for. But yeah. But you know what?
It seems like they're trying to take advantage of you by giving you possible opportunity, but threatening to take that away if you didn't do what they said.
Yeah. Possible. Okay. Yeah. See? Power play. All right. So Aaron, Paradise? Lost? What?
As much as I admire Harvey's instincts and everything else about the man, I just really have to question the idea of being like, you know what, The Last King of Scotland was popular. We should do that more. This movie
9 years later.
Yeah. I was intrigued because it's weird. Like just the other day, it was when the Paul Thomas Anderson trailer came out for One Battle After Another, and I'm just looking at Del Toro being like just so. Like, as much as I like Leo, Del Toro, I think, is such a great actor to the point where the second he shows up somewhere, it just seems like he's fit in that world for years. And that's the impression I got there. And I was saying to myself, why don't we get more Del Toro-led movies? And then the trailer for the Phoenician Street, the Wes Anderson movie, the Phoenician Scheme came out, and he's like the lead of that movie. I'm like, fuck, thank you.
I'm confused. The internet says that Wes Anderson never puts people of color in his movies.
And so then like this came up and I'm like, oh, okay, so he's the lead of this thing. So I'm intrigued to see this. Then I'm watching it and like 3 seconds in, I'm like, oh, it's one of these movies where he's like the big bad guy that's like often in the distance, but it's really about the white guy because that's more relatable. As it should be. This movie, like, it's not bad. It's just like kind of whatever, just like the last one, where it's like it's got all the pieces of something more intriguing if you actually want to tell a story about Pablo Escobar, which Adrian Grenier very much did in the world of Entourage. So I mean, somebody had the guts, but this was not the one by comparison. I was happy to see summer of 2004's Brady Corbet come back from Thunderbolts, Thunderbirds, to be in this movie. So that's fun. I'm glad he's returned for our series. There's not
Did
a lot
anyone ask him about that during the Oscar season?
about Thunderbirds if they were in fact good.
Yeah.
Well, if
I
they did
would've.
if they did an actor on actor between Ben Kingsley and him, I'm sure that would have been fun.
Anyway, carry on. I apologize.
I want that now. We were in a movie together, weren't we?
That's why they canceled the Sebastian Stan reviews, because he had too many Thunderbirds questions. It's not because of the Trump thing. He just kept all his notes were Thunderbirds related, so he didn't want to just like, oh, he can't. Well, you're not going to be other actors versus actors thing. Sorry. To be serious about a movie that I just didn't care about and forgot about immediately afterwards, there's not a lot to say about this. Like, it's made well enough, but it's also like, I know they're different characters, but like if I want to see Del Toro really get his hands dirty on something like this, Soderbergh has a two-part Che movie that's like infinitely better than what this has.
That was on my mind too, and I was like, he played.
So it's like, yeah, it's not surprising to see Del Toro inhabit the character Pablo Escobar. Sure, he can inhabit literally any character, and I'll be probably satisfied with that. And I don't mind Josh Hutcherson. He's a fine young guy. Like I've only since Hunger Games, honestly, I haven't seen him in too much. But like him here, there's nothing inherently wrong with them. It's just like this is not the story I need to be told about. Like it's not interesting to me in a way that wants me to be more curious about the time of Pablo Escobar. I'm just like, all right, yeah, so dude was with his daughter for whatever. Okay. Yeah, it's inconsequential. It's this weird, like, spinny off biopic idea that just never really took much height. So I was like, okay, I guess I watched that. Now I got that out of my system. There's nothing particularly strong about the direction of it or the style. It's just like presented to me like an FX miniseries that would probably be more effective because at least have more time to spend with these characters. So as it is, it's just kind of nothing.
Yeah.
We need to stop wishing that bad movies were longer miniseries.
I don't wish it.
They just like long bad miniseries.
But if you told me like FX was making a Pablo Escobar miniseries, that's probably good. Where
fair
as a truncated 2-hour movie, I'm like,
no, I mean this movie is exactly what you'd think it'd be. I don't disagree with anything Aaron has said. So at the risk of trying not to be redundant, I will only note a couple things that I liked about it. First of all, I think in a vacuum, the third act goes hard very quickly in a way that I appreciated.
Yeah.
And to the extent that the film is, the story of Pablo Escobar, but oh no, this poor white kid got screwed. I appreciate how horribly it ends because that does sort of mitigate some of the whole, well, at least the white kid got out okay, which I like The Last King of Scotland, but that is an issue with that movie.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about that. The movie is the movie.
This
one, I mean, we're going to spoil the movie. Does anyone give a shit?
It is 10 years old.
Yeah. Basically, he gets lots of innocent people killed. And the film is very upfront about that in a way that other films of this nature tend not to be. And that's the main nice thing I will say about it. Other than, Del Toro is terrific. It's well acted. It looks fine as a, middle of the road programmer with a production, what we used to take for granted in terms of a Hollywood budget. But yeah, it's not particular. It's not good enough to overcome its formulaic nature. And I'm glad I saw it once, but I'll never think about it again.
Yeah, I didn't mind this one. I thought by default it's my second favorite film of this week. But I thought it was fine. Hutcherson kind of like, I don't know, I enjoyed him a bit more and like enjoy this choice for him as a producer and a actor. And Del Toro was a nice kind of silly, spooky menace that was like, I did want, more of him, but every time he's on screen, I was glued to him. That's just kind of where he is.
He's one of the rare guys where like sometimes when you say I wish there was more of it, it's like, no, you don't. He's in there the exact right amount. that never seems to apply to Del Toro for me.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like, no, you could have more of him and it'd be fine. Like, I don't care for the second Sicario, but it's not because there was more Del Toro. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Give me all the Del Toro you want to.
No, and I really, third act, suspenseful and dour and like one of those, like, how the fuck are they getting out of this type movies? They don't.
Yeah.
that's I didn't know where it was going. I kind of like really enjoyed that. And I was wanting to get back to that because this movie starts with one of those, you might be wondering how I got in this situation type scenarios where, you know what, if the movie just started there and went fucking with it and we kind of picked up pieces and shit as we went, and this was just a 90-minute like exercise in that's probably a better movie.
Knowing Weinstein, it probably could have been a movie like that. They're like, no, make it linear or else.
But yeah, we got to go back through.
He had other things going on at that time.
This is when he was nice to me. This is when I was kind of wondering about things. This is where, you know, and it kind of goes through all that. But I mean, there's a moment in here where it's like, oh, Jesus, that is quite effective in getting the stress of the situation and the stakes across. It was a bit like, wow. But overall, I thought this was solid. Like, I'm like, Scott, I'm never going to watch this again. But I was like, this is okay background stuff while you're doing something or whatever. And the third act, really did have me, okay, let's see how this plays out. Like, I was much more interested. All the, I work at the surf shop. Oh, we're in love. What? You got a problem, my uncle? But whatever. But yeah, third act probably
loves Escobar.
Escobar, Paradise Mine. But no, the third act probably saved it big time for me from being like a bad, just boring movie. Interesting factoid about this movie, by the time when it released this weekend in the United States, it was already on Blu-ray and DVD in France, Australia, and New Zealand. So it was probably piratable too at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure people were racing to the internet to be like, let me get that Escobar movie on download.
The new Josh Hutchie. Hey, this movie was scarier than Five Nights at Freddy's, I'll tell you that.
Yes, it was more tense than Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes.
I agree. I concur.
Hey, Josh
Hutcherson. So it was a little bit of chaos.
Hey, Josh Hutcherson versus Benicio del Toro, or Josh Hutcherson versus Matthew Lillard. I mean, come on. Sorry.
I mean, he survived all those Hunger Games, so that's
that's true. That's why he's in the jungle or like in stuff. I'm like, he knows how to do this.
Yeah, he can paint himself out of a corner.
Yeah, he's got to go all against him versus all. Oh, I know
That's a good Hunger Games joke. He can paint himself out of a corner. That's a bit. Come on.
That's good. That's good. But yeah, so Aaron's obsessed with like turning things into TV movies this week, so we'll just head on to the TV ratings. So
that is a decent segue. What's going on?
It's not. That was one of my worst ones.
It was organic.
I like that. I was involved in it.
Yeah. He said my name, so it was a good one.
Sunday, June 21st, the most famous feud of all time comes to ABC. It's Celebrity Family Feud.
Hosted by me.
Steve Harvey hosts a superstar-studded showdown.
We ain't gonna be able to air none of this.
From Duck Dynasty to Dancing with the Stars pros, battling your Bachelor and Bachelorette faves. With a cast like this, you won't get enough of hearing...
Survey says...
Celebrity Family Feud.
This ought to be a lot of fun.
Series premieres Sunday, June 21st on ABC.
All right, so this is a boring-ass week of television, I gotta tell you.
NBA finals are over, right?
Yeah.
So American Finding Talent.
It's full of repeats that are all on CBS, but we started the number one program for the week with a 5.8 rating. That's
NCIS.
It wasn't the most watched show though. Like, it's crazy how ratings work because the number 3 show was by far the most watched show in the top 10. But
how does that work? I don't understand how ratings work. If the
ratings
most watched
work
show...
because it's locked onto the demographics and how those average out and the most key ones. So like, so NCIS repeat CBS. That's number 1. Number two is interesting because it's a Celebrity Family Feud, NFL versus AFC, and Dancing with the Stars versus The Bachelor and ABC. Number 3 is America's Got Talent on Tuesday. Number 4. Sorry. Number 3. So America's Got Talent had 11.1 million viewers, and the NCIS repeat had 8.8. But what's taken into account is all these old fucking people, or like, we're watching America's Got Talent, and they don't care. Advertisers aren't caring about selling to them, and there's a share too that goes with it too, and it's a whole fucking thing.
I don't like this at all.
No, it's complicated.
If this is the show that's being watched by the most people, that makes it seem like it's the number one show to me. That just makes sense.
But the ratings number is what they want. That's the important thing. I don't get it, but I think America's Got Talent was also on. It was like 2 hours, so therefore more people technically.
America's got a lot of talent.
More people technically watched it in both hours because it's a time slot, and so it took up 2, combined it. So there's that as well. Number 4, NCIS New Orleans repeat on CBS. I used to be a lot better at TV ratings, and then I fell off somewhere in the late 2000s. But 60 Minutes.
Most audiences.
Yeah, they did. 60 Minutes on CBS is number 5. Number 6 is Dateline NBC on NBC. 7, Bachelorette on ABC. Number 8, a Blue Bloods repeat on CBS. Number 9, Big Brother Wednesday on CBS. And number 10, 48 Hours, a repeat.
When did the Netflix top 10 come into play? That'd be a fun thing to try to go through.
Summer 2020.
Oh, there you go.
So
I accidentally invented a genre of shitty clickbait because of that summer, because I had nothing else to write about, and now I see it everywhere, and I have that Cillian Murphy at the end of Oppenheimer face.
Why Law-Abiding Citizens, a secret hit.
The box office failure that is the number 1 movie on Netflix. All right, so let's check in with Hannibal again, guys.
Good.
Thursday night, NBC, a 1 rating, a 2 share, and 1.5 million viewers.
I was.
Nobody is watching this show. Do you see? Nobody is fucking watching this show.
Yeah, like you're losing.
Shut up, Freddie.
There are things that are just repeats of garbage doing better than Hannibal. It's just,
this is by design.
Trash is doing better than I'm going through these ratings, and I'm stunned at the fact. Granted, there's second syndication life for these and merchandise and stuff, but the animation domination on Fox does not do at all in the ratings.
It doesn't dominate jack shit.
Yeah. CW shows. Now, Hannibal does better than CW. I'll say that. But
suck it, Arrow.
Yeah. Well, during this point, I'm sure new episodes of Arrow.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, oof.
Look, I love Hannibal. We love Hannibal, but nobody watched it.
Right. And we got 3 seasons.
We got 3 seasons.
Astounding.
With a satisfying finale, no less.
Yeah.
A real cliffhanger, some would say.
Perhaps.
Yeah. So, oof.
Gives it a leg up on the competition.
Hannibal fans know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, oof, which is like roof, which is like Max. Our next movie.
The one to watch?
The one to watch.
On HBO.
Now with a black background. How many meetings did they go through to come up with that and approve it and fight over it? And yeah.
Oh, I saw.
None.
When they turned it black, they got like 80 million new subscribers. Like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, but there's 40 people that are saying too woke.
Yeah, of course.
Come on, Max. I've been around the world and
cool dog.
Max was like a specialized search dog. Good boy. See what you can do.
This Friday, experience a must-see. An incredible adventure.
I'm not gonna leave here without my dad.
Max is a real treat.
He's gotta be a superhero.
Max, rated PG, starts Friday.
Oh, directed by Boaz Yakin, written by Boaz Yakin and Sheldon Letish. Remember him? Do you remember Sheldon?
Sorry.
Summer of '93's Only the Strong. He directed and wrote it. And he's the Van Damme guy, did Lionheart, Double Impact. Yeah,
just to be clear, I'm not impressed. Just wanted to make sure that you understand what my face is supposed to be.
Right. Yep. All right. This one stars Thomas Hayden Church, Lauren Graham, Josh Wiggins, Luke Kleintank, Robbie Amell, speaking of Arrow, Mia Zaitali, Dejan Lequaic, and Jay Hernandez.
And the dog.
And a military dog that helped American Marines in Afghanistan returns to the United States and is adopted by his handler's family after suffering a traumatic experience. So, like, the dog is not named Max, so that's an impressive acting job, right? That's good.
All the animals have their own names.
Yeah. So, before this, did anybody go on to watch Max 2 White House Heroes starring Lachlan Monroe as the president of the United States?
No.
Which played it was a theatrical release.
Yes, it was.
So, we'll start with Scott. What in the Angel Studios is this movie?
Carlos plays Max, by the way. Just
Carlos, the dog.
That crossed my mind. Look, I mean, I wouldn't say Angel Studios. I would say Affirm, which is they work with Sony in the mid to late 2010s, and they put out a series of faith-based films that were, on the whole, even the ones that weren't excellent, they were fine, and they sort of, A, they played to, non-religious folks, and B, they kind of played like, films like, Heaven is for Real, Miracles from Heaven, Soul Surfer, War Room, where it's like absent the religious angle, these are the kind of smaller scale, mid-budget, star-driven, character-focused, relatively all-quadrant, just movies that used to be something we got on the regular from the Hollywood system. And even by 2014, I would argue films like, the good one, Miracles or Heaven is for Real, sort of stood out by being just a pretty good drama that also featured strong performances from Greg Kinnear and Margot Martindale that, yes, also happened to be a faith-based picture. And we still get those from time to time from Affirm or I think Kingdom Story is the one that does it for Lionsgate now. The best Christmas pageant ever was decent. I'm not just saying that because it stars the real-life angel known as Judy Greer. Extraordinary Angels, jokes aside, Hilary Swank, Alan Richardson is actually it's very good. I would say it's the best one of those since, Heaven is for Real. Now, when I think of Max, that's sort of what comes to mind, that, I don't want to oversell it. Max is nowhere near as good as these films, but to the extent that I more or less enjoyed it, it's because it worked as just a, straight down to second baseline drive, just movie. And it is well acted, especially by the adults. The kids have a certain naturalistic chemistry. It doesn't really force the nationalism equals patriotism, mythology, to the point that, the song they played at the end of the montage and the song they play at the end of the movie almost feels out of place because it doesn't feel like one of those films up to this point. But I digress. Again, I don't want to say it's particularly exceptional, but I thought it was pretty decent. And yeah, there's a part of me that rolled my eyes when the crime plot started to take over the movie. But this is also a film for kids. And is, to a certain extent, it is a kids' adventure story where kids, discover wrongdoing and save the day with one kid living out the stereotypical Shia LaBeouf arc of the late 2000s of living up to his parents' ideal of him and saving a parent's life in the process. And, I don't complain about stuff like that when it happens in Disturbia, which starts out as a, wannabe Rear Window movie and then turns into a crime thriller.
Bad movie.
I should also, what was that?
It's a bad movie. Sorry, that's what I meant to say out loud, louder.
Oh, I like Disturbia, but whatever.
I'm not a fan.
That's okay. In fact, I liked it so much that was one of the reasons I didn't like Transformers a few months later, which is like, I've seen him do this already much better in that other movie. But anyway.
I think it's because I don't like Shia in that movie that makes Transformers better, because he's better in Transformers. Anyway.
Continue with your praise for Max.
Anyway. And again, I don't want to oversell it. It's Free Willy is much better. But to the extent that I come at a film like this with my arms kind of crossed, just because, it's this weird conundrum where, yes, support the troops, honor the troops, but I also believe that propaganda of this nature only helps create the political ecosystem which sends more troops to die in vain. And that, dogs suck, so I'm not big on dog movies. So the fact that this has 2 strikes against it going in, the fact that I liked it probably is because it's directed by the guy who made fucking Safe, which is the best Jason Statham action movie ever made. So he's also got a really weird, eclectic filmography.
He's got some good stuff in there.
Yeah,
how about I talk
Fresh
about
is
that?
awesome.
How about I get into that?
Okay, I'll shut up. Carry on.
Yeah, the main, I saw this in theaters for the screening, and the main draw honestly was the fact that it was Boaz Yakin, because I really like that he has a really eclectic filmography. He's a real journeyman who's, if he's not directing, he's writing a lot of stuff, and he's one of those guys that's also like a ghostwriter, where he comes in and fixes a lot of screenplays too and doesn't get credit for it. I think he can be a solid filmmaker, but he also has various misses here and there, which is weird because they're so all over the place. Like you were just mentioning, Fresh is a really good movie. Safe is a very good Jason Statham movie, and then there's other ones that are like less so. And then he has a lot of screenplay credits that are just like, people must like him because he's been working steadily for like 30 years in this business and just doing stuff that he seems to want to do. This, by comparison, he wrote it, so like he's certainly invested in the idea of doing something like this. But yeah, it is that it's the same thing I talk about a lot of times when it comes to like comedies or family movies, where there's a competent start to this thing. It has ideas, it has characters, it's doing what it can with the bare minimum for the sake of making general entertainment. But then it just seems to run out of ideas. It's like, I guess guns. So here we are again, where it's like, for some reason we have to have this like action-based finale, which I get for like a military dog and like kids on bikes. Sure, you can throw in action to some degree to like make that palatable with like the kind of story we're telling. But at the same time, it's not just that it's like, oh, we have a gun plot kind of thing going on. It's literally there are trained soldiers going up against like kids on bikes and a dog, and there's explosions and deaths. Not to agree with like a Rambo film, but at the same time, it's like, why is there all of this? This is so overcomplicated. There's so many other directions we can go with these kinds of stories, and we don't. Scott, you mentioned Free Willy, and that's why I think he'd be lesser on this movie, because it feels like how far have we come down by comparison? Because Free Willy feels so novel in what it's doing, and sweeter and innocent, and more just frankly likable, because it has more quirks and more things that separate it out from other movies of its ilk and other movies that have come since then, where this just feels so generic in every way. Like, I'm all for seeing Thomas Hayden Church in honestly anything, because I just love the performer. I think he's such a natural on screen, and who doesn't want to see more Lauren Graham doing stuff? But like, they have nothing to do here beyond say lines written for them that are stopping just short of screaming America at you. So it's like, okay, it's trying to some degree before it gets to and then the brother's partner comes back home and has has to sell arms in the same neighborhood because that's the best way to do it. But I mean, even before it gets that far in, it's just kind of there. The kids aren't particular. I mean, like, they function, but I wouldn't necessarily say I was like enamored by their friendship in all that many of ways. The main kid like is purposely, set out to be like a bit of a jerk because like his brother gets all the respect and everything, and he's just sitting at home playing video games. Like, yeah, he's like 12. Like, what do you expect? Like, his brother's literally fighting in a war. Um, so, and then the movie does, it only does so much to bring me around to him because he met a nice Latina girl who gets only somewhat hit with racism in this movie, which is something. And the dog stuff, it's if you like dog stuff, you get plenty of dog stuff. There's other military dog movies that have come out in recent years. One is Megan Levy with Kate Mara, which I think is much better than this, and the other's Dog with Channing Tatum, which I also think is much better than this. So in the realm of military dog movies, I mean, I haven't seen all of Max 2, featuring Lachlan Monroe as president, which humors me to the point where I'm thinking I'd probably might honestly be better than this just by the nature of how goofy it is. But this one, uh, I think its heart is in the right place. Obviously, it wants to praise the troops of all shapes and sizes and species, which I have nothing against. But as a movie, there's nothing here. Like it's whatever. It's a novelty that I don't think works nearly as well as other animal themed, family friendly summer films that come out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott found his house of cards this week.
I wouldn't go that far.
9 weeks in, because this thing stinks. I mean, this is like some sort of like right-wing fantasy
it's so much
kids
better
movie.
Than Lassie or Benji, whatever the stupid shit we watched last time.
I'd take Benji.
Thank you.
I would take Benji, and I didn't like that one. And
I did.
This thing was just like I'm like, oh great, here we go. How do you hook a right-wing movie like troops and a dog in a sad, and then they fulfill the fantasy fulfillment of like he knows a Mexican kid who of course is related to a cartel member, right? We gotta bring that. Oh, that's the danger, and it's just like I couldn't believe like part of me was like enjoying that. Holy shit, this is really where we're going with this. Was like the shock of like, wow. But of course it went there. I can't I don't know where Thomas Hayden Church and Lauren Graham stand politically, but what the I don't know what it's a part, I guess, and not a lot of big roles being offered or something. But I was like, what is going on here with this movie? The whole the dog killed your brother. The explanation and all this shit, and the guy gets it's ludicrous to me, even like a kids movie. Like kids aren't this dumb. I just I couldn't do this movie. Like it was bad. And
you also think that Max 2 might be a better movie by default.
I might think it might be a better movie just because it sounds like stupid, and this one took itself seriously. And I saw the poster for Max 2. I saw the poster for Max 2, and I'm like, okay, this looks like like one of those first kid type movies instead of
exactly.
And this there's no interesting dog stuff. The kids aren't interesting. I mean, the kid comes off as kind of unlikable to start, but that's how a lot of these things start. And he's not bad at the end of the day, but the whole Marine guy or the guy that was corrupt and the brother found out and he got killed in the bomber thing, and then it comes back here and he's corrupt with the cops back home and shit.
I hate all of that. I can't emphasize how much I hate all of this.
Yeah, I hated it too. And there's the corrupt cop that's on the scene, and they're gonna take your dog away, and the dog, of course, escapes on its own because Max is smart. And I just it'd be awesome if it turned into some banger John Wick action at the end of this or something, but I don't know. And then they kill people, and then the cartel, we got the one guy, so the cartel's gonna stop following you guys for life. We got the one. We got Emilio. He's gone. I don't know how the fuck I remembered his name.
Max 2's on Hoopla, by the way, so we can easily watch it.
Oh, okay. After this, we'll do a watch party.
We'll pop it on.
Max 2 watch party. Shoot, someone donates $100 to the Patreon. We'll cover Max 2.
God, at what cost?
Yeah, you can find it, Brippy. No one's donated for a long
You're
time.
acting like I'm not going to watch it regardless. I mean,
yeah.
covering it, sure. If I want to spend time on a podcast, sure, I'll take the money.
Yeah, you'll get a 10-minute Max 2 episode. But yeah, this thing, this is one of my least favorite watches of the entire least favorite. This is one of the worst watches of the summer for me. Like I just was and I'm like, yeah, of course they do. Every once in a while, like Channing Tatum is a soldier with a dog, and this like it's easy. It's so crazy how easy the draw, and people get interested in this stuff too. Like it's like, oh, you hear from the far right people and they see like their bait is so easy. It's bizarre. It's weird to me. Like,
well, those movies also succeed because the plots are better. I mean, Dog, which I love how hilariously simplistic that title is, and yet it's like, well, that's kind of that's what you call it, Dog. Like, it's a road movie, and it's about Channing Tatum's character, and it has like stuff to do with him. Like, it feels thought out.
I mean, the idea of Channing Tatum just talking to a dog a whole movie sounds great, but I mean,
it sounds relaxing.
Let's make him a soldier, like,
and Megan Levy, like that has action stuff in it too, but it applies to the actual like war they're in, as opposed to like a side story where the corrupt soldier. It's like also like I don't know what kind of message tried to send to the troops as far as this goes, where it's like he got onto my illegal activities.
Yes.
Well, to be fair, this is a right-wing leaning movie where in fact all cops are bastards.
Yeah.
That's why I'm confused by it. It's like I don't know what we're trying to say here.
Got conflicting ideas. Yeah. No,
I'll give it this though. There's a scene where Thomas Hayden Church is told about the fact that the dog supposedly is the reason his son's dead, and so he tearfully gets a gun and nearly shoots him in the backyard.
Yes.
And it's only because it's Thomas Hayden Church that I can buy that he'd actually do the shooting. Because I'm like, God, he seems so sad about it, but he'd actually do it too. And I'm like, that's good acting. that's the power of church.
The power of church.
Power of church. It compelled me to enjoy that performance.
Oh gosh, yeah. No Max for me. No Max for me. But yeah. So. Yeah, I'm so distraught by this, but let's just move on to the Ryan Seacrest top 10 for the week.
Broadcasting worldwide from the heart of Hollywood.
The hits and the stars who make them.
This is American Top 40.
Here's your host, Ryan Seacrest.
Here we go. Seacrest with you. The 40 biggest songs in the USA.
Here we go. Number 10, dropping a spot, is Honey, I'm Good by Andy Grammer. And number 9, dropping a spot, is Hey Mama, David Guetta featuring Nicki Minaj and Afrojack. And number 8, dropping a spot, Earned It, 50 Shades of Grey by The Weeknd, who is not The Weeknd, no more, in our time of 2025. He went to his real name.
Here Comes Tomorrow.
Yes. Debuting in the top 10 at number 7, Cheerleader by OMI, or is it OMI? I'm not hip with the music anymore in these. Staying at number 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2, and 1 is Uptown Funk, Want to Want Me, Shut Up and Dance, Trap Queen, Bad Blood, and See You Again. No movement from 6 to 1. It's been a long summer here with See You Again in the top spot. It moved for one. Taylor Swift knocked it off for a week and has been just hanging in number 2 the rest of the way. It's just it might be our longest number 1 song. I can't remember. I know.
Oh, it has to be by default.
Because Scott, in 82, we had the Paul McCartney Stevie Wonder song that was there for fucking ever. And I can't think. We had 93. I think Janet Jackson had one.
Jackson was in there for like a little while.
A long time, but I don't think anything like this. This is it's a huge hit. A huge hit. So we'll now move on to
who else takes a huge hit from a bong?
From a bong, Tammy.
Don't encourage him.
Ted.
Okay, you ready?
Thunder Buddies for life.
The Thunder Buddies are back.
You guys are idiots.
You two
could have been an inspiration to the world. But you've done nothing positive.
That's what you get for exercising.
Ted 2.
Let me drive for a little bit.
20 minutes behind the wheel.
Well, Sam, it's been 20 minutes. You want to take over?
Directed by Seth MacFarlane. Written by Seth MacFarlane, Alex Sulkin, Wellesley Wild, based on characters by Seth MacFarlane, starring Mark Wahlberg, Seth MacFarlane, Amanda Seyfried, Jessica Barth, Giovanni Ribisi, John Carroll Lynch. We just talked about him last week. Remember? He heard us. Sam J. Jones, Patrick Warburton, Michael Dorn, Morgan Freeman, Tom Brady, Dennis Haysbert, John Slattery, Nana Visitor, and Liam Neeson. Plus, plenty of other cameos. Newlywed couple Ted and Tammy Lynn want to have a baby, but in order to qualify to be a parent, Ted will have to prove he's a person in a court of law. So, Aaron, Ted the Second.
Yes.
And you bear it.
Suffice to say, for both Scott and I, we're both big fans of Ted, the first one. I think that film really works. It separates itself from just being Seth MacFarlane comedy that's just Family Guy by being like a real movie. It has characters, they have arcs. The comedy, I think, is paced very well. Where yes, there's a lot of gags, but it has breathing room as well. There's dramatic beats that I think work. It has an original score, which I actually really like, and even an Oscar-nominated song from what's her face. It's gonna bug me. And she's in the movie too.
Nora
Jones. Nora Jones.
Yes.
And it's just a genuinely likable film, despite being, raunchy and what have you. And it's everything I would have wanted from the best version of what Seth MacFarlane can deliver. And at his best as a director, I think he's been able to capitalize that on things like The Orville at that show's best. The sequel, it's lesser than, and it feels more of what I kind of expected from the first Ted, which is it feels more episodic in its presentation of comedy. There's a plot line, but it feels more, gag, different setups for different little set pieces with less coherence throughout. It's, like I said, it's a lesser than movie. However, watching it this time, and I've seen it a few times at this point, I don't want to say I forgive all its problems. I don't, but I do think it's won me over the most because I'm more willing to just accept what really works about it, which is, for one thing, the core heart of the film, that is the friendship between Ted and Mark Wahlberg, does work. It's effective stuff. I do think those two work well together, for whatever that means. I haven't even talked about just the nature of Ted being a visual effect that is just really good. That's the other thing. The best aspect of Ted, as far as the story goes, is it doesn't play the up to the wonder of, oh, this bear is alive, I can't believe it, let's whatever. It's like we wisely skipped decades past the point, and everyone was just like, yeah, there's a talking bear, whatever, we don't care. And I think this one is able to follow through on that as well, to a logical conclusion of, okay, so what if we made a story that surrounds the idea of his humanity? That's interesting. And the biggest flaw I have is that the film decides to cater more to gag after gag after gag based episodic adventure, as opposed to doing more with the actual core storyline involving proving Ted's humanity. There is good stuff there when they actually debate those things. I like those arguments. I don't need necessarily a Ted drama to really delve into the mechanics of how he works. But in terms of courtroom scenes and other scenes that involve Seyfried or Morgan Freeman or whomever that want to delve into what it is for Ted's life to matter in the same way as a human being, that's more intriguing than I would have expected, and that'd be cool to see the film go on that. As it stands, yeah, it goes for just joke after joke, and it's not always a winner, but there are so many big laughs I get from certain scenes, whether it's an apartment-based scene where they're yelling out the windows at other people, or this one bit where they're insulting improv comics by throwing out the worst suggestions possible. There's just stuff there that's just so funny that I can't fault the movie because it's making me laugh a lot. So I shouldn't hold myself back from embracing the fact that I am enjoying my time with this. It just feels like it's less ambitious than the first film. I used to be upset that the movie just kind of slides Mila Kunis out and slides Amanda Seyfried in, but then I realized reading about it, they had to change the storyline around to what is a better story, even though I don't think they do enough with it. But it resulted in being like, well, we have to have a female lawyer character, and that means why is Mila Kunis around? It's just a narrative economy. It just makes sense to get rid of one, and it just seems a little more callous as far as, oh yeah, she dumped him, whatever. Like, because you go through so much work to make those two a couple in the first movie, that just kind of feels like it's upsetting, but at the same time, it's like I get it. I get it's a like, do I need to take it that seriously? It's a movie about a talking teddy bear, like whatever. So like, yeah, I mean, there's enough gags here that make it work overall. I think it's a very funny movie at its best. It just feels like it's held back by not having enough confidence to do more with the actual story it wants to tell.
Gotcha. Scott, wasn't Ted your favorite film of the year it came out? Or was it just
it's on my list. It's on my list.
It's on your
that
list.
Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, because you were super duper high on Ted.
Yeah. They showed it to us early, back then, earlier than I used to get to see stuff. And it's like, oh, that's why. Holy shit. And I did rewatch the first Ted before rewatching Ted 2. And I still think it's very good. And the the critical commentary on pop culture nostalgia has obviously aged very well, unfortunately. The idea of that leading to sort of Arrested Development. And no, I don't like the idea that, and Ted's not the only movie to do this, where you have the entire film can these two characters grow and change and become what each other needs, and then the next movie, she's gone, and there's another love interest or whatever. That's one of the reasons, the only real issue I have with Deadpool 2 is the entire film is about Wade and Vanessa eventually becoming together, and then she gets killed off in the opening scene. That being said, I do think, and this is sort of something that I find in a lot of McFarlane's work, is that he is very aware of the traps that exist within the kind of comedies that he's making, and really tries to either avoid the obvious punching down humor or make those traps a part of the narrative. Even in the Orville, he has a character that's just devastated because he found out his wife was cheating on him with another guy. And, there'd be a, obvious temptation to where they're working together and he's just always insulting her and being mean to her. And she's always just whatever. It's like, it's not that. They both realize that they both hurt each other and they want to try to work together. And, I'm not going to recap all of the Orville, but the same thing with this movie. It's like, I hate the idea that Mila Kunis just got written out, but I like the fact that they make the failure of that marriage a gigantic life event for Mark Wahlberg's protagonist. That it's a monumental failure on his part that rocked him to his core, and that is something that he has to deal with and grow from and become better from, without ever penalizing or criticizing Mila Kunis's character in the abstract. And the movie's got Amanda Seyfried playing a lawyer, so of course A+. But she sings, so A++. And as far as the film's politics, when the film came out, I actually wrote a whole bit about, because, as you know, of course, gay marriage got declared legal right before this movie came out. So it was sort of an interesting entryway to how bawdier, lower class entertainment, like I Love You, I Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, or Will and Grace, or Ted 2, probably does a lot more to further the cause for this kind of stuff than something like, Milk, or what have you, or Longtime Companion, without negating those films' artistic value, obviously. And watching this film again, honestly, my only issue with it from a political point of view is that the film leans a little too much on the notion that Ted has to prove that he is a quote human being by virtue of his actions. When, if you want to be a dick about that, it's like, he shouldn't have to be a good person to be judged as a person.
Yeah.
And although the film kind of comes around on that, not really. And my other real issue, and it's not a deal breaker, Amanda Seyfried's opening statement in her trial that they lose, I think is far more compelling and poignant than Morgan Freeman's final monologue, which they win.
If a smarter movie would make the joke very obvious that it's because it's Morgan Freeman's voice that they're hearing,
Yes.
that's why they win.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't make
absolutely.
that joke.
It really doesn't. I would argue it does not at all. And whatever. I'm not, it's not, no one's going to The Hague over this. But yeah, McFarlane is certainly someone that wants to use the genre of lowbrow comedy to change hearts and minds, knowing that a lot of people that watch his stuff are not going to be among the converted. And I'm not going to say he never makes bad movies or bad TV shows. There's been a lot of discourse, most of which I have to agree with in a vacuum, about how Family Guy and American Dad treats disabled characters. But on the whole, this is an example of how he's trying to really, I don't want to say Capra, because that's way too over the moon, but he's trying to make populist comedies that, have a reason to exist beyond humor, and is something that is intended to critique and or challenge the stereotypical audience that might watch a film like this.
Well, they play into his old school sensibilities too, because he's like a song and dance guy. Like, and he likes 50s, 60s, 70s cinema very clearly. I think.
Yeah. And I wish this film were funnier. I wish it were, again, more consistent with its politics. But again, it's Ted fucking 2. It's still that it's a 3-star sequel to a 4-star predecessor. I can only, give it so much shit for that.
Yeah.
And it has a spectacular Liam Neeson cameo, and now I would shut up.
Yeah, no, I agree. A comparison I was thinking about with like how it goes from Ted to Ted 2 is Conan the Barbarian to Conan the Destroyer, which one is this sword and sorcerer epic, and the other was a bit more goofy, but still I think a solid film that's gotten a bad rap over the years. So I kind of feel like that with Ted 2. It's just funny. It does feel like it's full of a lot of leftover things from Ted 1 that didn't get used. Possibly, but it works. It's a lot more Family Guy-ish, but I mean, I'm still laughing at stuff like the sperm bank stuff is dumb, but it's kind of funny. I mean, just watching it's Mark Wahlberg going through all this, so that helps. You're like, he was okay with all, like this. And you gotta say, Wahlberg and McFarlane have great chemistry together. It's insane.
Do.
Yeah.
Like, I could just watch the two of them go, like, we need more of their, go work on something else together, guys.
This is my favorite kind of Wahlberg character, by the way. The one that's chip on his shoulder, like
he's all in, and
he's dim, but he's very committed to anything he puts his mind to. It's suited for him.
I see him putting this in like other, but he's not as committed as he is here. Like he's really all in here. And yeah, it's crazy. But like, yeah, there's so many just aside, like jump to this, like Family Guy joke things that like kill here that I love. And like that Scott mentioned the Liam Neeson thing where it's so weird, so out of place, so kind of stupid what he's saying, but the way Neeson sells it and his reaction is just like, yeah, this is funny.
Which has a follow-up in the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
People love.
Seaford's
is he
great.
funnier here in the minute he's in versus the entire of A Million Ways to Die in the West?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not even a criticism of him. It's just the movie is not particularly good, and that he almost does too good of a job playing a terrifying, mean villain.
That's still like my most disappointing movie of that year. Like I think if I had to think about 2014 more, because like that had such potential to be like a great Western comedy, and it just didn't deliver.
Unlike this, it has some good stuff, but it doesn't carry you around long enough to.
It doesn't balance his because that's one that really wants to show that he's a good filmmaker, but it doesn't balance that nearly as well as honestly First 10 does. Where like it's a well shot, well made movie, but it's like. But you need the jokes. You need to land the things, and it's just not paced well enough for that.
I also think that's a film that makes a mistake of McFarlane casting himself as the quote-unquote ideal protagonist.
Right.
And the fact that, and this isn't film's fault necessarily, but it was like a film about a nice guy, stereotypical nice guy that gets the out of his league girl just by being a nice guy. And it came out like a week after that discourse began over, frankly, a mass shooting by some would-be incel that thought, boo-hoo, nice guys finished last.
Yeah. And that's why Million Days Ways to Die in the West failed.
Here's a question for you about Ted, too.
Yeah.
Giovanni Ribisi, is he funnier in this one or the first one? Because I think he might be funnier in the second one.
He's
I think
running
he's
wild here.
very good in both. I think Dennis Haysbert's hysterical. I wish he had more screen time.
When we get to Comic-Con, Ribisi's killing it. Like, it's some real funny stuff here.
It's a lot of funny stuff. He's effectively creepy in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love, speaking of Comic-Con, I love Warburton and Michael Dorn, like, picking on people.
I'm so of two minds on that. That's just so, like, I like it, I think, the first time, and I think it just kind of wears on me, where it just, like, becomes, like, now it just seems just too mean. But it's still, like, funny in concept.
Well,
I don't know. Like,
the first time, it's like, whoa, okay. And the second time, I'm like, oh, that's what these guys are doing here. Like, that's where...
I like that they're dressed up as like crappy versions of their characters. Like that makes me laugh a lot. Like that's really funny. That's like a crappy tick and a crappy wolf costume.
And I do like Seafried. I'll watch her in fucking anything.
She's great in this. I think she's really fun in this movie.
I think Kunis pairs better with Wahlberg.
I agree, but I think Seafried's like her energy is really because she's like a stoner, like they are. Like she like there's something about that really.
Oh yeah, as a gang, as a group, they're good together.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean.
As a group, they're good, and I love when they pull up the Comic-Con and she says something about they're fighting the Star Wars guys. And she says something about their Star Trek stuff, and they're like, whoa, and it like shifts around, like we're sorry, like no, it's just good Seth MacFarlane humor, which I do like, and yeah, this one's I liked it too. Like it was funny. Like comedy sequels are tough. Usually, just get the band back together and make something different is my ideal comedy sequel. But Ted 2 also Ted 2 is more Ted focused, if I'm remembering right, than Ted 1. So it's like when you focus on the goofy, you make the spin-off show for the goofy character on the sitcom, and you're like, well, why isn't this working? It's like because they work better as that. But in terms of getting the sympathy and being behind Ted, it works.
Yeah, it fulfills what it needs to on like an emotional level, which brings me to what I think might be the thing I've laughed at the most that summer, where the first Ted ends with Ted being like put back together, and he pretends like he's like his face has been warped because he put it together wrong, and then he's like, I'm just kidding, I'm fine. This movie. I just have to say this flat because it's just too good of a joke where Mark Wahlberg like gets injured, right? And he's in the hospital and then they pretend he's dead and then he comes up he comes up, he's like, I got you, just like you got me in the last movie. That's not even it. It's how did you get the hospital to go along with it? And he's like, oh yeah, we told the doctors and everything. And they pan over to the doctor and he's like, we're happy to do it. We're a fun hospital.
Yes.
Destroyed me. And at the time, I was less on Ted 2 than I am now. So, like, the fact that line at the very end of the movie killed me. Just made me laugh so much. It reflects how, like, what Dennis Haysbert does early in the movie, where it's like, I saw grew up. Like, it's just the most flat possible, the most like just no affection whatsoever. We're a fun hospital. It's such a ridiculous line, but it's so funny.
That's good.
No, I did like it more this time than I did 10 years ago, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
And the show is, I'm slowly going through it.
Oh, I like the show.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the show yet. I've been meaning to.
The show's fun. Like, and it's not just because the show's a lot like Ted 2. It's got a lot of like joke after joke after joke, but because of the show, it can build character. And you have this family that Ted and the young Mark Wahlberg are staying with. And it gives you there are some good emotionally driven episodes based around sexual orientation, how the wife is a put upon wife. It does things that are like, I feel for these characters because the show has properly gotten me there.
So I think McFarlane was like, let's do young Sheldon, but with Ted.
I don't, I don't watch it, so like I'm gonna say yes, essentially, like that's what it's probably doing.
Although
But
Young Sheldon's even darker, oddly enough.
So I've heard, but like
Yeah.
if whether or not it's riffing on something, what's her name? Alana Ubach plays like the mother in that shit. She's fantastic. It's like I was way more impressed than I expected with the quality of the TED TV show.
Gotcha. Well, Scott, how did all the box office fare with Ted 2, Max, and Little Chaos?
A little chaos?
A little chaos.
Only a little chaos?
Just a little.
Only a little?
Mm-hmm.
Am I stalling because I haven't opened up
That's
the tab yet? Yes, I am.
Well, number one again was Jurassic World. Of course, it's dominating.
Yeah, of course. With $54 million, minus 49% in its third weekend of release, crossing 500 million after 17 days.
But we hate it.
Again, yeah, of course, but audiences hate it. Why do they keep making Jurassic World movies? Inside Out 2, minus 42% in its second weekend.
You mean the first one?
What did I say? Yeah, the first one, the good one.
I think you meant to say number 2, Inside Out.
Yes.
Not Inside Out 2.
Yes. 52 million, minus 42%, 185 in 10 days. That's terrific. And $33 million, which at the time was kind of a disappointment just because the reviews weren't great. The buzz wasn't there. If I recall, it was a little front loaded. So it was like, okay, this, and it cost more. The first 10 cost, I think, like 55. This one cost closer to like 70. So it's like, okay, it's going to make less on a bigger budget. But God, 10 years later, we'd be shitting our pants at even a comedy sequel opening to $33 million.
That's
would
big
be nuts.
semen ain't cheap.
Exactly.
I mean, I have to I get that, they're all individual from each other, but I have to imagine that having two giant 4-quadrant blockbusters already open and being received as well as they are didn't help Ted too.
That are for both of them for everyone. 4 quadrant. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's sort of if you want a preview of things to come in the industry, you have these tentpoles like Jurassic World and Inside Out that theoretically would be pitched at quote unquote family audiences, but you're starting to see the situation where even young adults, older adults, date night couples are going to see the giant franchise film and or the Pixar animated feature, which leaves actual quote unquote adult films sort of out on alert, so to speak. Max, $12 million, which again kind of felt a little disappointing at the time, but in retrospect, maybe it does 43 million, 44 worldwide on a 20 budget. So
that seems
honestly,
entirely
my
fun.
feeling,
Who's disappointed by this?
Honestly, what at the time, my thought was, well, surely they're going to put a preview for this on the DVD/Blu-ray of American Sniper, and that's going to boost business accordingly. To my knowledge, the trailer was not. Yeah, I know. As far as I know, the trailer was not on the Blu-ray of American Sniper, which is weird, but okay.
It's a fucking PG dog movie, Scott. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but they're both Warner Brothers.
But whatever, they'll put fucking all the DC movies. They're going to put the Max movie on here.
I would have done it.
He would have made it dozens of more dollars.
Well, as I would eventually learn the next year. Yeah, if you want to use American Sniper as, that film does well, but Max still underwhelms and Aloha bombs. That was sort of the start of the realization that we are losing sort of the cross media
hoopla.
What I'm thinking of is jumping from thing to thing. Like, I liked American Sniper, so I will see the next Bradley Cooper movie or whatever. And now, of course, that basically doesn't exist. But this was, again, it was sort of a clue of the doom that was coming. Nonetheless, in a vacuum, it's a $20 million dog movie intended for kids. It does 44 worldwide. I'm sure it did fine.
Gets a sequel.
Yeah, it gets a sequul.
Yeah.
So I guess it did fine.
It has real life action figures.
That I didn't know.
People bought dogs. That's what I mean. It's a joke.
Oh, fair enough. Spy, 7.9 million, minus 30%. Weekend 4, 88 million in 24 days. San Andreas, 38%. Interesting, considering competition from Jurassic World and Inside Out, but I digress. I just lost my place. San Andreas, 5.4 million, 142 after 31 days. Dope, unfortunately, earned 2.8 million, dropped 55% in its second weekend. 11.7. It would eventually top out at around 18 million. Insidious 3, 2 million, minus 51%, 50 million bucks in 24 days. Mad Max Fury Road, 1.8 million, minus 42%, 147 million in 7 weekends. And finally, in the top 10, Avengers Age of Ultron, 1.7 million, minus 41%, $452 million in 9 weekends of release. It will top out at 459 domestic, 1.4 billion worldwide, including more overseas than the first film did. And other than that, let me see if there's any.
Number 22.
Love and well, hold on a second. I'm getting to it. I apologize. Love and Mercy is sticking around and kind of sort of expanding. It is now playing on 728 theaters. It has made $9 million in 4 weekends, which is not bad for that kind of movie. A Little Chaos opens in 83 theaters for $182,000. It would eventually earn $558,000 domestic and 9.5 overseas for 10 million worldwide. Still, I mean, I don't think this movie was expensive, but I'm guessing it cost around at least 10 million, just because, you know, it has production values. So whatever.
Actors.
Escobar, Paradise Lost opens with
negative $14. Hold on.
Yeah, pretty much. $107,000 in 105 theaters for a whopping $101,017 per screen, meaning that it's a good place to deal drugs because it will be empty.
Oh, good.
196,000 domestic in total and 5.5 million worldwide. And that's it.
All right.
It's funny. Love and Mercy feels like a movie that if you move that a few degrees, you can make that into a faith-based movie too, the way that it plays out. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, just funny trivia. Bat Kid Begins.
Oh,
which was a documentary based on the quote, real life story that had happened like 2 years earlier, I think, where some kid was sick with cancer. He did not die, for the record. Or at least as far as I know, he didn't die. And the town like made an entire day's worth of like real life Batman simulation where he walked around in a Batman costume and like they had characters dressed up as villains and cute. I mean, I think they went too far letting the Joker kill 6 people, but whatever, the kid was happy.
And they still haven't cleared out the water system that he poisoned. But
exactly.
But I interviewed the director of that for Comic-Con. I remember that I was following that story. That it was neat. He's a very nice man, the director.
And I remember, noting at the time that if I was writing for a publication that had more of a sense of humor than Forbes, all due respect, I absolutely would have written a big, expose about how Bad Kid Begins was a desperate attempt to reboot the franchise after disastrous campy Bad Kid and Robin. Oh well, it was funnier 10 years ago.
All right. Well, that will do it. We are done with June of 2015. Halfway there. So thank you guys so much for joining me today for this discussion. Before we head out, where can people keep up with you, Aaron?
I host a couple of podcasts. One is called Out Now, Out There Today. I co-host that show with my friend Abe. We talk about weekly movie releases, and we have a lot of fun bonus things as well. And I also co-host the podcast Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla. My friend and fellow film critic Terrence Johnson talk about the Godzilla films in chronological order with me. I am a big fan of the films. He is seeing most of them for the first time, so it's providing a lot of fun as we go through this whole series. I am the editor-in-chief at Weekly Entertainment. You can find all my movie reviews over there. I write Blu-ray and Criterion reviews over at Wise Blue, and I'm on all those socials at Aaron's PS4.
Scott.
I am a semi-regular contributor for Puck News, and I write, run, and maintain the Outside Scoop for Substack. I also oversee, produce, blah, 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 a weekly podcast called The Box Office Podcast with myself and a handful of other younger, cooler box office pundits and or film scholars, where we discuss what happened last weekend in a theater near you.
All right. And I'm on the socials at Brandon 4KUHD. Always remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. PopCon coming up June 27th through 29th at the Indiana Convention Center in Indianapolis. It's this weekend, I think, when I am, as we're recording this. So I'll be there hosting and running the live podcast stage of the Podcast Awards. And then there is the PopCon Creator Summit, which is 2 days before on the 25th and 26th. So info on that, if it's not too late, at popcon.us and popconsummit.com. Next week, Channing Tatum and the boys go on a tour. Two men take a very different tour. We get some more cartel action, and Matt Smith gives us an unforgettable role of a lifetime in a Terminator movie only a Sega could love. All that and more as the summer of 2015 at 10 continues.
The summer of 2015 at 10.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.